Hey everybody, welcome to Crafty Makey TV. My name is Jennifer and I am your Duchess of all things DIY. Today's project that we're going to be working on is to make this absolutely beautiful massage bar soap out of melt and pour soap base. It also has an embedded sea sponge in here, which makes it absolutely luxurious. It's a nice palm size. Fits in the palm of your hand so you can grip it. And as you use this soap, the cool thing about it is as the soap kind of washes away and you use the soap, more of that woolly sea sponge will be exposed. And as you lather, it acts as a washcloth embedded in your soap. It's a little bit exfoliating, not much. It's more luxurious and soft than it is an exfoliant. But it's a wonderful, wonderful soap, and you can stop using that SOS plastic scrubby that you've got hanging in your shower right now if you use one of these soaps. So that's also a bonus in my opinion. Let's jump right in and start talking about some of the things that we're going to be using when we make this soap today. I've got two 4-cavity massage bar soap molds. I got them off of Amazon. I will post a link in the description box below so that you can order those if you like. It is an affiliate link. I make a teeny tiny commission if you order through that link. If you don't want to order through that link, that's fine too. I mean, wherever you want to get them from, that's up to you. I've also got my sea sponges that we're going to be using. I get these from a guy on Etsy. They are a little bit pricey for a DIY project, I will say that. It's $82 for 25 sea sponges, but the good thing is that we'll be cutting them in half and embedding only half a sponge in each cavity, so we only need to use half as many to make these sponges, which is kind of nice. Saves us a little bit of money right there. I will put a link to his shop in the description box below so that if you would like to purchase 25. He only sells them in bunches of 25. But if you would like to buy them from him, I'm sure he'd really appreciate it. They are sustainably harvested. They're nice and soft, and they're kind of cool because they do have some holes that go all the way through, so that if you were so inclined to want to make a soap on a rope type thing, you could very easily get some cotton macrame cord like this. I got this from Michael's. It's a bead landing brand cord. It's like $9.99, and I got it with a 40% off coupon. And use about, if you decide to do that, I would use about 18 inches and then loop it through one of the holes and knot it. And maybe we'll even do that with some of our soaps so you can see how that works. I would also recommend, because you never know if you're going to have leftover soap base, that you get or have handy a small silicone mold that you can pour any extra soap base into. That way you aren't wasting any if you don't have enough to fill up the whole mold, because even though this mold normally would hold more than 1 pound of melt and pour, remember that we are embedding this nice woolly sea sponge in there, so it will take up some volume from within that mold, so you won't be using the full 4.5 ounces of soap when you pour. So you may have some left over, so you can pour it into this little silicone mold, and then you can use that as embeds for a future soap project should you so desire. You could give them as a hostess gift, put a few in like an organza bag, and tie it with some ribbon and use it as a hostess gift or a teacher's gift. That would be a great idea. Or you can put them up in your guest bedroom or bathroom, and your guests and whoever you gift those to will just think you are just so crafty. So let's talk about our soap base. The soap base that we're going to be using today is a goat's milk based melt and pour soap base from Brambleberry. I will leave a link in the description box below so that you know where I purchased this particular soap base from. If you have a different soap base that you would like to use, or if you want to purchase it from somewhere else like Nurture Soap or Wholesale Soap Supplies, or just look on Amazon, that's perfectly fine. But this is a really nice soap base. It's very nourishing to the skin, it's moisturizing, and it rinses clean. So this is my preferred goat milk soap base. We are also going to, I think, for a few of these soaps, color them. As you can see in this one that I originally did, I left it natural, which looks really nice with the sea sponge as the sea sponge, you know, starts to become more exposed. But I believe with some of them, since we are in the holiday season, I am going to be coloring them with this lovely Evergreen color block that I got from Brambleberry, $1.75, and you don't need to use the whole thing. You only use a small piece of this. So this color block will actually color multiple batches of soap. We just cut off a little hunk, a little piece of it, and use it in our melt and pour soap base and mix that up nice to whatever vibrance level we want. So let's talk a little bit about fragrances. You don't have to fragrance your soap at all. You can just leave it natural. You don't have to put any fragrance oil. I caution you about using essential oils unless you really have studied up on, you know, the ratios of essential oil to ounces of soap. There are some safety concerns, especially using the citrus-based essential oils. Sometimes you need to worry about phototherapy and people getting sunburned after using essential oils on their skin, especially those citrus-based essential oils. So just make sure if you want to do that, that's fine. Just read up on that first and make sure that you're using a skin-safe essential oil. Today we are actually going to be using a couple of fragrance oils that I got from Brambleberry that are just absolutely lovely. This one is called Cashmere. It's a lovely, soft, romantic scent, and we are going to be putting that in our natural colored melt and pour soap. And then in our green, if we decide that we're going to color some of this green, I also have this Lush Succulent, which is a nice, fresh smelling fragrance oil. Both of these fragrance oils are skin safe and phthalate free, so you don't have to worry about that. Okay, so I think that's all of our main ingredients. So let's head on over to the studio and get crafty. Okay, so welcome to the Crafty Makey studio. And I know it's not a studio, it's actually my kitchen, and there's my bottle of wine. Sometimes we need inspiration, right? Well, I'm inspired to build this channel, and once that happens, and I have a decent subscriber base, my husband said that he will actually build me a real studio. And he said he'd also get me a real camera so that we don't have to deal with this weird lighting thing that's going on all the time, which is really annoying. I know, and I apologize. Bear with me. But if you want to help me build my subscriber base, go ahead and click on the like button below and click on the subscribe icon down here in the corner of the video, and you will then be subscribed to our channel. Don't forget to hit that bell notification icon, and that way you'll get notified of all the cool new DIY, crafty, makey type videos that we come up with. So I'm going to go ahead and start laying out my supplies, get ready to make this melt and pour tropical sea sponge embedded soap. I'm going to switch the camera angle so that you can actually see what's going on, and we're going to go ahead and get crafty. So what I've got here is I've got my sea sponges, and I've got them in a bowl. I'm just going to put some water over them and hydrate them a little bit, and then squeeze them out quick and set them on a towel over here to the side, and then we're going to press another towel on top of that. So we're just going to go ahead and get some water in here. We're going to hydrate them a little bit because they've been sitting around for a little while all dehydrated. So we got them, this cleans them out a little bit too. So we're going to do that. I'm going to dump that water out of there. Then we're going to take them and give them a good squeeze and squeeze that water out nice. Right, like that. And then I'm setting them on a towel back here. Okay, Okay guys, so you can see we've got our tropical sea sponges all laid out. We've rehydrated them and squeezed them out, and now I'm just pressing them in between these two towels to just go ahead and absorb any of that extra moisture that might be in there. So we're going to do that real quick. And this will make them nice and soft and able to conform to the shape of our mold, right? So this doesn't take a lot of time. It literally only took me a couple minutes here. So now that we've got that done, we'll take that towel off. We can go ahead and start trimming them so that they can fit into our molds. Okay, so we've got our molds here, and here we've got our sea sponges that we have rehydrated and squished the water out of. So now we're just going to take a scissors and we're going to cut them in half across this way so that they fit nicely into our molds. So let's go ahead and do that. And you see, it looks like it's not going to fit, but they squish in there really nice. Alright guys, so I've got my container here that I'm going to use to melt my goat's milk melt and pour soap, and I've got my soap base right here. So we're just going to go ahead and we're going to chop this into chunks so that it is easier to melt. And it's really easy to cut. It's nice and smooth and creamy. Okay, so we've got our melt and pour completely chopped up. We're going to go pop it in the microwave real quick. 20 to 30 second bursts, stirring after each time, and then we'll kind of gauge. It usually takes like, I think, 2 to 3 sessions for me to fully melt, but I'll let you know what that is. And of course, your microwave will vary. It may take you longer, it may take you less, depending on the kind of microwave that you have. Okay guys, so I just wanted to show you here, this has been 2 30-second shots in my microwave. And I'm not sure if you can tell, I still have some lumps and bumps in my base, my melt and pour base. I'm stirring that up a little bit. I'm going to take a quick read with my infrared thermometer. We're at 128 degrees. This batch is going to have the cashmere fragrance oil in it. It has a flash point, so a burn point of 200 degrees. So you want to make sure that you don't go over 200 degrees, and around 125 is like the ideal pour point for melt and pour. So we're right at the perfect pour point, but of course we're not melted yet, so you actually have to go up over that perfect pour point and then come back down. If anyone's interested in purchasing one of these cool little infrared thermometers, I'll put a link in the description box below so that you can see the one that I bought. It's super easy to use right out of the box. I'm gonna pop this back in the microwave and give it probably maybe 15-20 seconds. And then we'll be ready to put our sponges in, spritz, put our sponges in, and pour. Okay guys, our melt and pour base is completely melted. It took another 2 bursts on 15 seconds each in order to complete the melt, and that brought us temperature-wise, I took it just a bit ago and it was 146, and now it's down to 141. I don't want to add my fragrance oil until I'm down between probably about 135, because the last thing you want is to put your fragrance oil in there and just basically have it all evaporate. So We're going to wait for that temperature to come down a little bit. We could spritz it with some of our 91% alcohol. That cools it down really quick. But one thing I wanted to talk about real quick while that's happening, I switched out our mold. I've got the green mold here instead of the blue one because we're going to color the other batch green, and I thought it would contrast better so you could see it in the blue mold versus in the green mold. We're going to go ahead and give our mold a spritz. And one of the reasons that we use 91% alcohol also is because it dries really fast, which is a good thing. All right, so we're going to go ahead and we're going to get our sponges ready. One other thing that you're going to need is something to measure your fragrance oil with before you put it into your melt and pour. And if you have a digital kitchen scale, that would be ideal. Brambleberry has, now remember in this batch we're going to be using our cashmere fragrance oil, and Brambleberry has on their website a really nice fragrance calculator. So you basically put in the product that you're using. So in this case it was melt and pour. You find the fragrance oil, you put in the melt and pour, and you put in the amount that you're using. So we used 16 ounces of melt and pour as our base, and you just put that into that fragrance calculator, and it comes back and tells you different scent levels, 4 different scent levels, the amount weight-wise of fragrance oil that you would need to add. So I've already done that calculation. I am going to do a strong scented soap because I absolutely love the smell of this cashmere. So for 16 ounces of melt and pour to have a strong scented soap, it would be 0.44 ounces of this fragrance oil to 16 ounces of melt and pour, or 12.47 grams. Okay, so that means that you are also going to need, like I mentioned previously, some kind of scale, a digital scale, because most of the times when you're doing soap making, you're doing things by weight. So I happen to have a super nice, I just got this scale, and it does both it's both battery operated, or you can plug it in, and it's got all these it's got different modes, and you can tear it out, and that just means zero it out. So I can put this melt and pour on there and then measure out the 0.44 ounces or 12.47 grams of fragrance oil and know that I'm getting the exact amount that I need. So I'm going to set my melt and pour over here while I set up my scale. I will leave a link to this scale down below should you desire to have one like this. This one was really inexpensive too. It was like 20 bucks. And like I said, it's a really super nice scale. And it has a nice big LED, you can see, so that you can actually read it, which the one I had before, I was really not that easy to read. Okay, so we're going to go with ounces. And we're going to do, remember, 4.44 ounces. I think our melt and pour is at about, yep, we're at about the point where we're ready to add, our fragrance oil. So I'm going to put it on my scale. I'm going to give it a nice little stir. Okay, and I'm going to tear it out. So I'm going to zero out my scale, and I'm going to take my fragrance oil, and I'm going to add the 0.44 ounces. 0.25. Here we go. I'll put the lid back on so I don't spill it all over the place. Set that there so I can wipe it off. And now we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna stir that fragrance oil in to our base. And you need to make sure that that fragrance oil is mixed in really, really well. Okay, so I think what I'm going to do now, I think we're mixed in really well. I'm going to go ahead and do an initial pour in each one of these cavities to kind of fill in those nubs a little bit. Like that. And then we're going to take our little soap sponges here, or tropical sea sponges, and we're going to tuck them right down. Tuck them right down in there. We're going to give them a quick spritz again. Okay. Give this another stir. And then go ahead and pour right on top of that sponge. This one here looks like he's a little bit short. We probably could have used just a touch more melt and pour, or probably have kind of spread it out a little bit. But you know what? Each one of these is unique in its own right, which, you know, I think is a great thing. So that's basically it at this point. We're going to take this and set it aside, cut up some more melt and pour for our next batch, which we're going to add color to, and we'll go from there. So we'll be back in a second. Okay guys, I've cut up our second batch of goat's milk melt and pour and put it in our container. I wanted to show you though, cutting up this little color block. You can see it, that's a really pretty color. It's got a little bit of shimmer to it. It's called Evergreen, and I got that again from Brambleberry. So I'm going to cut it in half, and then I am going to cut a quarter chunk off of it. So I basically am taking a quarter of the block, and I'm going to cut that into, again, quarters, and just pop that in with my melt and pour. So for this particular melt and pour, which I'm going to be scenting with the Lush Succulent fragrance oil, I'm putting 1/4 Evergreen color block from Brambleberry. So put that off to the side. Going to go ahead and do this the same way we did the other one in a couple of 30-second bursts, a couple of 15-second bursts, and then we'll be ready to go ahead, measure in our fragrance oil. Okay guys, so we're back and we've got our second batch of melt and pour completely melted with 1/4 color block of Brambleberry's Evergreen, and you can see it. I hope you can see. It's just a very soft, light, almost pastel-y type green color. It's not a dark green. It's extremely pastel because we used a white soap base. If we had used a clear glycerin or oil-based melt and pour soap, the color would be much different. It would be quite a bit darker, and you would see more of that shimmer that is in that color block. But this is a really nice pale green that I think will go well with our fragrance oil. So we're going to take a temperature check and see where we're at. We're still at 144, so we're going to continue to stir while we wait for this temperature to come down a bit. Okay guys, we're back. I've gone ahead and turned on my scale because we're ready to go ahead and add our fragrance oil into our melt and pour base that we have colored, excuse me, with that beautiful Evergreen color block from Brambleberry. I'm going to go ahead and zero out my scale and grab my Lush Succulent fragrance oil. And this is lovely. It just smells so nice and fresh. Oh, hang on one second. There we go. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and add that in. And we're good to go there. Put the cap on and give this guy a nice stir. right, guys, we are ready to go ahead and start filling our molds. So again, we're going to just start pouring and fill in those little nubs because we don't want any empty nubs, right? Nobody likes an empty nub. Scrape here. It reminds me of, not sure if any of you have seen any of Katie Carson's videos where she's scrapey, but containy for her soap making. She's hilarious. I absolutely adore her and I follow her. She is wonderful. Such a great sense of humor, such a wonderful personality, and just a truly, truly genuine person, like Katie Carson. So we've got these filled. Now we're going to set them aside, and then when they're done, they'll take anywhere from 4 to 24 hours to cure, depending on your temperature of wherever you're at and your humidity levels. I'm down here in Charleston, South Carolina, but it's winter, so it's a little chilly for us. But these will take anywhere from 4 to 24 hours to cure and set up. You don't want to unmold them too soon because then you might end up squishing those little nubs and breaking them off. So just make sure you give them plenty of time to set up and cool. So we're going to go ahead and set these aside, and then once we're ready to unmold, we'll show you that as well. We'll do a little video of the unmolding, and maybe what we'll do is actually combine that with a packaging mold. We can unmold them, take a look and see how they are, and talk about, you know, how we might package something like that. So if that's something that you're interested in, if you'd like to see, you know, how we would package something like this, take a second to put a comment down in the comment box below. And please don't forget, go ahead and hit that like button and hit that subscribe button down here in the corner, and hit that notification bell because we've got a lot of cool stuff coming out. We're going to be doing a loofah soap, and we're going to do that one on a rope for sure, because I'm really wanting to do that. So I think we might do that maybe even later this week. So again, thanks for joining us here at Crafty Makey.